Hey everybody, Eric Bynum here. Just wanted to give my thoughts on Western civilization and why it is important today. And this is something that, as I was doing this and reading these articles, I never really put a whole lot of thought in. I had really kind of, you know, given into the assumption that Western civilization is really everything, Western Europe and all of its former territories and things like that. Um, and I still kind of firmly believe that that's what it is. But let's talk about kind of where that comes from. And some of these articles, I didn't really agree with much. When I was reading, and forgive me if I mispronounce this name here, Apaya's article, there is no such thing as Western civilization. I really thought there was a lot of holes in his thought process. One of the arguments seems to be, in many of these, either linking West to Christianity or to Greece and Rome or both. But why are we so dead set on linking something so new to something so old? Let's think about that. So let's start with Christianity. Christianity, Christianity is something that permeates throughout the West. He tried to argue that because there might be someone of Islamic faith within the West that kind of rules out Christianity as being the basis. Really didn't follow that, because no matter where you go today, whether it's a majority Christian state or an Islamic state, whatever the case may be, you're going to find people of other faiths. So I think you got to look at more the majority rather than the minority. And you can't rule out something as the basis of, say, the West just because there are non-Christian people living in the area. Another thing that seems to be brought up is the idea that, well, slavery existed, so how can that be Christian? And how can that's something negative, that permeated throughout the West? Well, let's be honest here. Can we finally drop that argument of slavery? Because everybody had slavery at one point or another. Did we have slavery? Absolutely. Did other people have slavery? Absolutely. Who didn't have it in the past? And when you start to look at when the idea of the West comes about, you're talking about the end of slavery throughout the world. So is that really a strong argument? To me, it's not. Because by the time the term West appears, slavery is pretty much gone from most of the world. Greece and Rome, I still think there's a legit argument for having that not necessarily be the start, but there's so much influence from Greece and world in what we call the West now. I get it. The Greek and Roman text and academics was lost throughout the Middle Ages, and it was held up by the Islamic world. But you're to me, just because there's a time period where those texts may not have been studied so much doesn't eliminate it from being the basis of something. But what I want to get into really quickly here, because I'm almost out of time, is Southernization. I really like Linda Schaefer's argument about Southernization. And this is basically, she argues that it really all started in Southern Asia, then moved into Europe, and that kind of brought on Westernization. And I kind of like this idea a little bit more, because she goes back to the Mauryan Empire in India, how they learned to sail the monsoon winds to Africa and then to China, and they were spreading these ideas that came from the Indian subcontinent and from China all over the world. I mean, think about Arabic numerals. They actually originated in China, but the Europeans got them from the Arabs, and so we call them Arabic numerals. Okay, so there's so much that was spread and started in Southern Asia with her idea of Southernization that led to Westernization. And this is kind of like, to me, the way I always look at everything is, a lot of it started in Southern Asia and East Asia. Okay, the Indians, the Chinese kind of started walking with technology. Okay, the Arabic world, the Islamic world kind of started jogging with it as they upgraded it a little bit more as time went on. And finally, a lot of that spread to Western Europe, where they really started to run with it, becoming some of the largest empires the world has ever seen. And I think that's where you really have the West starting, and the West spreading to places like the Americas because of the Europeans and their domination. So just my thoughts, but I do think that Western civilization exists. I do think that it is an important concept. And I'm okay with it going back to Greece and Rome because there is so much influence in there in the Christian majority democratic based societies that really consist of the West. So thank you, and hope everybody has a great day.